want to introduce tonight Michael Jonas, who is the executive editor at Commonwealth Magazine and has graciously stepped in to be our moderator this evening, and we're so lucky to have him. So thank you. Mike?
Thank you, Josh, and welcome everyone. And the first segment for tonight is going to focus on question number 3 on the ballot in November. And that is a question that does relate to farm animals and egg production. And it would, in a very brief summary, require that starting in 2022, that Massachusetts farms and businesses only sell or produce eggs that come from cage-free hens, and that they also only sell or produce pork and veal from pigs and calves not raised in crates or in tight enclosures. So many of us probably go shopping and often buy eggs and meat and are not giving a tremendous amount of thought to the issues that are raised by the ballot question. So why should Massachusetts residents vote yes on this question that would regulate and change laws regarding eggs and meat production?
Question 3 is a modest measure that would establish common sense rules for the treatment of farm animals. It would ensure that, unlike other states, we would finally address issues such as confining animals in cages so small they can't even turn around. At this point in Massachusetts, it's completely legal. We're looking at different species here who are affected by these cruel conditions. Egg-laying hens, calves raised for veal, breeding pigs. All of them, what this question would do, would ensure that they're able to do 4 things: stand up, lie down, turn around, and extend their limbs. It's really that basic. And to ensure that suppliers of food in Massachusetts would abide by those very modest guidelines. So why is it important for these animals? Well, most egg-laying hens are confined in barren wire cages so small they can't even spread their wings. In fact, this is a standard sheet of paper. Each hen is given 2/3 the size of a sheet of paper on which to live for her entire life. This is the meager amount of space she has to eat, sleep, drink, defecate, and lay eggs every single day for years on end. Now, these are horrendous cruelties that are currently legal in Massachusetts that I think are out of the norm with how most consumers feel farm animals ought to be treated. Aside from addressing the cruelties associated with these abuses, addressing these issues also improves food safety. And here's why. When you confine animals in cages that are so jam-packed they can barely move, and they're living on top of their own feces, they're filled with disease, their immune system breaks down, and thus the food is more unsafe. That's why the leading food safety organizations in the nation, Center for Food Safety and Consumer Federation of America, both endorse question 3. This is all going to come with little to no cost to consumers. And when you look at all the food companies that are moving away from supporting these practices, whether it's Dollar Tree, McDonald's, Walmart, and the others, they did deep dives into these issues, and they found that these abuses do not reflect their customer values when it comes to the treatment of animals. And in terms of their economic analysis, they found that shifting away from those practices are completely economically viable, including for a place like Dollar Tree. McDonald's announced they're going 100% cage-free. When they publicly made this commitment, you know what they said? They said it's not going to raise the cost of their food for customers even a cent. For all these reasons, this question is endorsed by the Humane Society of the United States, the ASPCA, the Massachusetts SPCA, more than 500 Massachusetts veterinarians, more than 100 Massachusetts family farmers, all coming together in agreement that all animals, including farm animals, deserve prevention from cruelty.
Thanks very much, Josh. So Diane, you're the campaign manager for the effort to defeat the ballot question that Josh has just spoken to. And you were also a plaintiff in an earlier lawsuit that actually sought to keep it from even getting to the ballot. So I'm assuming that you are not in favor of inhumane treatment of animals as a policy or an approach. So why, in spite of that, should voters say no to question 3?
I oppose question 3 because it is a social injustice. Question 3 is essentially a regressive food tax that would cost us $250 million in the first year alone. My opponents will say that it's merely a penny an egg. That's simply not true. A similar proposition was passed in California. California is the only state in the country that bans the sale of eggs that come from a hen who has been caged. The USDA puts out a daily report. In California, the cost of eggs are actually double what they are across the rest of the country. When I think about Massachusetts voters spending this $250 million, that's $250 million. And this would essentially go to out-of-state producers because there would be one farm in Massachusetts that would be impacted. This would essentially be $250 million that we as consumers would be paying to out-of-state producers to house their livestock. And I tend to think if I went to the legislature and said, hey, we've got $250 million we want you to invest in housing, we might actually do some good justice by the homeless families, homeless individuals here in our own state. We know that there are currently 784,000 individuals right now in Massachusetts who receive support through the federal government SNAP program. And we also know that that's a small representation of folks who are actually in need. The Diamond Farm in Western Mass, I don't know if you've had the opportunity to go and visit out there, Josh. It's a pretty amazing operation. There are 3,000 hens who, yes, are in cages, and I assure you I have seen with my own eyes. They have the ability to stand up, lay down, and turn around in the space in these cages. What question 3 is an outside lobbying group from DC here in Massachusetts trying to steal away our affordable choices. Right now, you go to the grocery store, you can look at the price differences between a conventional egg. I've seen them 79 cents, 89 cents a dozen. You look to the right or to the left, you'll see a cage-free, a free-range egg. I've seen about triple the cost already. So if we were to implement question 3 here in Massachusetts, we would be, again, banning the sale of cage-free eggs and stealing away affordable choices. I myself, as was said, I've experienced homelessness, I've experienced poverty, I've experienced hunger with my children. And I know that when my SNAP benefits have run out for the month and my paycheck is still a few days away, eggs are my saving grace. It is the most affordable and accessible source of protein that so many of us need access to. We need to keep our affordable food options. There are 2 animals that would be addressed with question 3. In fact, we don't raise these animals here, we don't produce them here in Massachusetts in the style and fashion in which the folks at HSUS are trying to impose on us. This is essentially, again, a DC lobbying group here in Massachusetts trying to get us to regulate our food options. We don't need them to be victimized by this type of policy. And I assure you the chickens in Western Mass are doing just fine.
Well, thanks, and I think we're going to have to leave it at that. I want to thank Josh and Diane both, and ask everybody to give them both a round of applause for being here to share their perspectives on this.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you, Mike.
Thanks again.